Hello everyone, this is Macy and you're watching Channel EMI, brought to you by the Center for Academic Literacy here at NTNU. Recently, we received many letters from NTNU students about a rather interesting phenomenon. They believe that their EMI teachers have no opinions. Do EMI teachers have no opinion? Just what do they mean? Our EMI teachers are wonderful teachers and strong critical thinkers. Surely this can't be true? Let's do some fact-checking before the situation gets even more out of hand.
Hi everyone, this is Anthony P. I'm in Classroom Poo 101 of NTNU. With me, I have EMI Professor Ruben. Hello.
Hello. Hello there, Anthony P.
Happy to be back. I've been hearing whispers among the NTNU students saying that their EMI professors have no opinions. That doesn't sound like the Professor Ruben I know. What's up with that?
Thanks for checking in, Anthony. Well, the truth is, it's not that we EMI teachers have no opinions. But sometimes it's so hard to go beyond a simple answer. In fact, this happened just yesterday. The value of lifelong learning. Now,
Professor, since we are talking about the value of lifelong learning, do you agree that lifelong learning values everyone?
yes, I agree.
Okay, and?
Well, I agree.
Since that's the case, do you agree that we should all start memorizing every piece of information we come across?
No, I disagree.
How about this? We should learn only what we are interested in.
Not really.
Yes, Professor?
You know, it's not that I didn't have any opinions, but I wasn't sure what to say beyond I agree and I disagree. It's even worse when the answer is more nuanced. Like if I just agree with part of the statement.
Okay, I see. I understand. No worries, we got you. With the expressions that we will be sharing over the next few minutes, you will soon be holding intense and deep discussions with your students. And no one will ever think that EMI teachers have no opinions to express ever again.
Thank you, Anthony and Professor Ruben. Now I see the issue. Well, the importance of expressing agreement and disagreement in class is very beneficial for our students. Many studies have emphasized the role of expressing agreement and disagreement in fostering constructive dialogue and enhancing mutual understanding. When discussing topics in class, you, as the teacher, should feel free to express your full agreement, partial agreement, or disagreement on the topic. However, how you express your feelings is important when trying to develop constructive dialogue with your students. For example, if you simply and aggressively disagree with students that hold differing opinions, then you just look like you're itching for a fight, and likely for no good reason. What a way to win the popularity award, yeah? Thus, in the classroom, a large part of effective communication involves the clear exchange of different ideas. Not only can this support respectful conflict resolution, but it also facilitates growth and understanding both for teachers and students. As such, in today's video, you'll learn 3 key skills: how to express agreement professionally, how to disagree respectfully, and how to manage partial agreement in academic discussions. We'll also go through the difference between 2 deceptively simple words, don't and can't. Let's dive in.
How to express agreement in class. First up, let's start with what's relatively easier. How to agree with someone. Of course, you can simply say, I agree, but at some point, you're probably gonna wanna mix it up. You can express agreement without using the word agree. I'm serious. Here are some examples. I second that idea. I'm in favor of. We're on the same page. I'm with you on that. That's a great point. I like the idea that. Did you notice some of these expressions are more formal than others? Let's try sorting them out further. We're going to divide these expressions into two categories: formal, academic, and casual, professional. Take another look at these expressions and think about which one belongs where. Here's our suggested categorization. Formal academic. I'm in favor of. I concur with your assessment. I find your reasoning sound. Casual professional. I second that idea. We're on the same page. I'm with you on that. That's a great point. Also, don't worry if your categorization is a little different than ours. We don't have to agree on every single detail to have a constructive exchange. For now, try using at least one new agreement expression in your next class to build your comfort level with these phrases. Going back a little, since we're on the topic of partial agreement, what if we only agree with some of the things another person is saying?
How to express partial agreement in class? When it comes to partial agreement, the structure of a response is usually yes, but no. You first express agreement with the other person and then present a reason for not agreeing fully. This is called constructive disagreement. There are many ways to express partial agreement, and this table offers some suggestions for the various elements a partial agreement contains. Feel free to mix and match these elements to come up with a sentence that feels natural and just right for you by putting the three parts together to form your own sentence. Have fun experimenting! These expressions are really useful as they help us express a more nuanced perspective beyond straightforward agreement and disagreement. Try them out in your class and let us know your thoughts in the comments. For yes, you can say, I see your point. I see where you're coming from. I agree with you on the whole. I agree with you to a certain extent. You have a point there. That makes sense. I think you're onto something. And I agree with most of what you've said. For but, you can say, but, however, on the other hand. For the no segment, you can say, it could be said that. There's more to it. I have a few reservations. Have you considered? I find it difficult to agree with your point about.
Disagreement. Next is the trickier issue: how to disagree with somebody clearly and respectfully. After all, as they say, disagreement is the spice of life.
Nobody says that!
Hey, well, I disagree with you. But how else can we politely disagree when the other party is obviously wrong? Here are a few ways. I'm not sure I agree with that. I believe we see the issue differently. I think there's another way to look at it. I don't completely agree with you on that. I understand what you're saying, however, the data show. Now, look again at the last three sentences. In these three sentences, there are some terms used to soften the disagreement. Can you spot them? Well, here are the answers. Let's see if you got them all. I can't quite agree with that. I don't completely agree with that. I'm afraid I don't agree with your point of view. These terms include quite, completely, and I'm afraid. If you remove these terms from the sentences above, the sentences are still complete, but they would sound more direct and possibly harsher. Adding these softening words to your statements make them sound more gentle. Thus, the key takeaway here is add these words to your sentences if you want to soften them, but don't if you want to sound more direct. So, what happens if, even after a long, intense discussion, both parties still fail to reach an agreement? When this happens, we call it an impasse. In this case, you can simply say, let's agree to disagree, and choose to move on without trying to change the other person's mind anymore. There we go, our spectrum of statements ranging from full agreement to partial agreement to disagreement. Yet another set of useful tools for you in your classroom. Just a quick reminder, some students may be hesitant to express disagreement directly for fear of being seen as rude. We all are products of our different cultural backgrounds, and it's important to create supportive environments for different communication styles. For the United States, France, and definitely Germany, we're pretty direct with our words. Many EMI classes have students from all over the world, so as EMI teachers, we want to be extra sensitive to cultural differences so that each student can get the most out of the class and grow in confidence by the end of it. Just one more thing before we wrap it up. As we were going through these expressions, communicating disagreement, did you notice that sometimes we say, I don't agree, and sometimes we say, I can't agree? Have you ever wondered about the differences between don't and can't in this context?
Language pointer, don't versus can't. Well, it's actually quite simple. If you say I don't agree with something, you are expressing your disagreement in a straightforward manner. To express the same idea in Chinese, we will say 我不同意. Statements like this simply reflect the speaker's position or belief. On the other hand, if you say I can't agree with something, the word can't suggests that the speaker might want to agree but feels unable to, perhaps due to strong reasons, ethical concerns, or evidence that they can't ignore. In other words, the speaker is saying, I want to agree with you, but I simply cannot. To express this idea in Chinese, we will say 我无法同意. Thus, this expression often conveys a sense of reluctance or limitation. Compare the two sentences below, which use don't and can't respectively. First sentence, I don't agree that ice cream isn't a food group. It's my staple food. The second sentence, I can't agree that ice cream isn't a food group. It goes against my core beliefs about nutrition. In the context of EMI teaching, you might say something like, I don't agree with this research method. Or, I can't agree with this research method because the sample size is too small. Notice that when you say you can't agree instead of don't agree, it's a good idea to provide a simple explanation for why you want to agree but find yourself unable to. After all, this is more polite than simply rejecting the other person's point of view. Do you or can you view the difference between the two sentences? Once you get it, congratulations! You now have a pair of new tools in your English toolbox. Let's try out these expressions to see what differences they make. Anthony, Professor Ruben, over to you.
Yes, what's your question?
Okay, Professor, since we are talking about the value of lifelong learning, do you agree that lifelong learning benefits everyone?
Yes. I can't agree with you more. That's a great point.
Okay, since that's the case, do you agree that we should all start memorizing every piece of information we come across?
I can't quite agree with that, since that would be quite an inefficient way to learn.
Okay, how about this? We should all learn what we are interested in.
I agree with you to a certain extent, but there's more to learning than just interests.
I see, cool. Thanks for sharing these different perspectives with us.
You're more than welcome.
Based on our lab results, do you agree that this experiment proves our hypothesis?
I see your point about the results, but we need to consider other factors before drawing conclusions. Wow! What a difference knowing these useful expressions. Now I feel much more confident in facilitating discussions and debates in class.
And it really shows you were positively glowing after that scenario. If you, dear EMI teachers, also wish to glow like Professor Ruben, do practice these expressions in your own time. with Sensay, our AI-powered platform, which you can access by scanning this QR code. Cal has also designed a one-page downloadable expression guide and the transcript of this video for you to review and practice the expressions that we've just gone through, and you can download them here. I think we can all agree that practice makes progress. Right, Machine? Right, Machine?
Oh, you gotta stop doing that.
No, never.
Well, I physically can't disagree with what you just said. And you know what I can't do? Skip dinner. Okay, my job here is done, so I'm gonna go for some stinky tofu now.
Ugh, it's something I don't eat, but not something I can't eat. I'm gonna get out of here before she stinks up the room with her dinner. Just a quick preview, we're going to share some tips on how to explain and clarify concepts in the next video. See you then.